Erickson here. These are the second generation AirPods Pros, and they've probably been overshadowed by other products that were released alongside them, like the iPhone 14 Pro and the Apple Watch Ultra, but I think that these might be the best out of the bunch. There's a lot to love about these headphones. There were some pretty big improvements here over the last generation, and also some things that I think are missing or could have been improved. So with that said, let's just dive right in. Design-wise, you're not going to notice much of a difference in terms of shape and size over the first gen AirPods Pros, but there are a few minor differences. On the AirPods themselves, you have a new vent and mic placement on the back for improved noise cancellation, which I will get into in a bit, but you also have these new touch controls on each stem. I'm always a little bit leery of touch controls because sometimes they can be too sensitive and you can inadvertently hit them if you're adjusting the buds in your ears, but these are done really well. It takes a bit of pressure to perform actions, and you'll hear an audible click in your ear when you do anything like pause or skip a track. And the only thing that I find a tad uncomfortable at times is adjusting the volume, where you have to move your finger up and down the touchable area. But once you get used to them for a bit, there's really no issues with them at all. Those are the only real visual differences on the earbuds, but if you take a look at the case, Apple has added this lanyard loop if you want to hook your AirPods onto a bag or an accessory or something and just not have them loose. And there's also a new built-in speaker that has audible tones for when your battery is low, you pair up your AirPods, and for advanced FindMy features as well. I do like the additions on the case, but most of all, as with the previous generation, the Pro case is nice and small, and the build quality is outstanding. I always like to check and see how sturdy the hinge is and if the headphones vibrate at all in the case. This is amazing on both of those fronts. There's no wobble or flex in the hinge, and the AirPods remain secure when you shake around the case, which is exactly what you're looking for. The one thing that I wasn't too pleased about is the AirPods Pros retain the same IPX4 water resistance rating. And that means that these are good for things like splashes or sweat if you're working out, but you won't be able to submerge these in water. That might not seem like a big deal, but I do know folks who have had these things drop in puddles or drinks and never be the same. And at $249, replacing these can be a pretty tough pill to swallow. I'd have liked that to be at an IPX6 or 7 rating because there's a lot of other manufacturers who do have those ratings. But that's really my only complaint design-wise. The AirPods Pros are still very light, weighing in at 5.3 grams for each bud, and I find I barely notice them in my ears. Just for some context, you'll see a lot of premium earbuds that weigh between 7 and 9 grams, so it is a noticeable difference. You've got 4 sets of ear tips on this generation, where the previous only had 3, so nice to get some more selection there. I've been using these all around the house, working out and going out on runs, and they've been exceptionally comfortable with the right fitment. They never wiggle loose or pop out of my ears. Having the right fitment will affect your experience with how comfortable these are and how well they perform. And if you aren't exactly sure if you have the right fitment, you can take the fitment test, which does work great. I do wish that the AirPods had their own app similar to the Watch app instead of nesting everything in this Bluetooth area. It's just a bit of a pain in my opinion, and it really lacks visibility. And overall, I think the app or software experience could be a tad better. Just like with most things Apple, there isn't a ton of customization options available. There's no advanced transparency or noise cancellation levels that you'll see on some companion apps, and there's no EQ adjustment at all. I'd really love to see some EQ options at some point, but I know that there's a ton going on inside these AirPods in terms of functionality and features, which probably doesn't make it easy for some of those things. Speaking of what's on the inside, these have the new H2 chip, which enables things like adaptive transparency. Essentially what that is if you've got transparency mode on and there's a sudden change in sound levels in your environment, say if there's sirens going by you or you turn on a blender or something, some kind of loud noise, it will decrease the volume in your ears so it's not so jarring or damaging. That H2 chip combined with the new mic placement I mentioned earlier is supposed to improve the noise cancellation by twice as much. And by all accounts, the ANC on these earbuds is outstanding. Personally, the best that I've tried as far as earbuds go. They're not going to be on the level of over-ear headphones with really good ANC, but they do a really good job of eliminating background noise and anything that isn't a sudden jolting noise. I can see these being really good for getting rid of engine noise on flights and light chatter and environmental noise. There's no added pressure with ANC turned on. I don't get headaches or anything with these, which can tend to happen on some of the headphones that I've tried. but zero issues there. And even more impressive than noise cancellation is the audio quality. Before I bought these, I wasn't really sure what to expect in terms of sound quality from the previous generation, but by all accounts, this is a pretty big jump forward. The sound is much improved over the first generation AirPods Pros. I just get a much fuller, deeper sound, and they're definitely at least on par with the best premium earbuds that I've tried. Whatever music I'm playing, regardless of genre, sounds amazing. The bass sounds great without it ever being over the top, and everything is very clear, and I have zero complaints there. Personally, I think the jump in audio quality over the last generation makes it worth upgrading if you are on the first gen Pros. They're great for not only listening to music, but for viewing content as well. These have been bumped from Bluetooth 5.0 to 5.3, and the latency is excellent. I still notice a little bit of lag if I try and use these for editing video, but that's a whole other animal. For viewing content, games, that kind of thing, they work perfectly fine. The one thing that I haven't got to try out as much is using these on calls. The microphone is acceptable, and when you're on a call, it sounds good. It's not amazing by any means, but it does just fine. It will be interesting to see as I go on more calls if I have as many issues with these as on the AH1 chip. But I used to be on like 8 video calls a day when I was working full-time as an engineering manager to basically none as a content creator. I do move around a lot when I've got these in, and I find that the range is acceptable, but not as good as some other earbuds that I've tried. If I have the connected device playing something in my basement and I go up a couple of floors, it will start to cut out at times. This is pretty common for most earbuds, but I sense that these are just a touch weaker. And I did have one weird sync issue that seemed to be a one-off where I was going in and out of range, going indoors and outdoors. And in one instance when my audio had cut out and came back on, one AirPod was ahead of the other and it created this weird echo effect, and it didn't self-correct until I put the AirPods back in their case. Other than that, just like any other set of AirPods, these are really a dream to use if you're in the Apple ecosystem. It's super easy to pair these to your phone or Mac, and once connected, you could just switch between devices without ever having to worry about repairing or anything like you normally have to with a standard set of earbuds. Beyond the connection between devices, the AirPods Pro case now has precision finding, just like AirTags, and that speaker in the case will put out an audible noise for finding the case, which I'm sure that I'll use. I misplace stuff like this all the time. Another addition to the case is all the different charging options that you have now. This is a MagSafe charging case, so not only can you charge this through a standard Lightning port or regular wireless charging, but you can now use a MagSafe or Apple Watch charger. I find this particularly useful with my desk charger, as that has both a MagSafe and a watch charger. If I have either my phone or my watch on the charger, I can just use whatever open slot that I've got to throw my AirPods on. You don't have to charge these as much either, as the battery life has jumped to 6 hours on the AirPods and 30 with the case, where they were previously 4.5 on the buds and 24 on the case. That again isn't the highest number out there, but it is more than acceptable. A single charge on the AirPods alone will last you pretty much a full day. I know for me, I don't have these in more than a few hours at a time, and they last me multiple days without ever having to worry about tossing them on a charger. Overall, things like battery life, range, and software are all decent. If you use transparency mode, you might find the adaptive functionality quite useful. But what really sets these apart is the sound quality and noise cancellation, which I'd say are the two most important features out of a premium set of headphones or earbuds. Sure, there are a couple of minor things that I would have liked to see improved, like water resistance rating and some more little customization options, but overall, these are an outstanding set of headphones packed with features, and if you're already in the Apple ecosystem, it's going to be hard to beat these. I will link them in the description below if you're interested in picking a set of these up. Because there are so many features, I know I probably missed talking about some things here, so if you do have any questions about the AirPods Pros, or maybe you prefer a different set of earbuds that you want to give an honorable mention to, please leave a comment down below. If you did find some enjoyment in this video, please click that like button. If you want to see more tech-related content, or if you want to have a wooden pickle carving contest with me, please subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next upload.